Good news. You can post.
Yeah.
That'd be great, thank you.
Right. I'll call the meeting to order. This is hopefully our final draft of the new budget. Thank you. First off,
Yes, so we will go through the draft budget and then also the fee schedule today. And this will be formally presented in the meeting, May the 8th. In our regular town board meeting, then we'll have the public hearing the following meeting and hopefully vote the first meeting in June. So the budget message, I'm just going to hit some of the highlights. It was prepared without a tax increase. It's balanced with a rate of 45 cents per $100 evaluation. 1 cent on the property tax rate currently generates $52,266.80, including ad valorem and motor vehicle values. The proposed upcoming budget, 1 cent, will increase the value of a penny to $60,715.29. This budget does include fee increases in the general fund. We'll go through those when we look at the fee schedule. The town's proposed general fund budget totals $7,525,677. This is an increase of $1,556,458, or 26% from the original fiscal year 24-25 budget. While general operating expenses have increased in all departments, this increase is attributed to the property tax revaluation, adding the community care social work position to the police department, adding 2 firefighters that we hope will be funded by Jackson County, refunding post-employment benefits, and large capital purchases. So the proposed budget includes the commercial pumper fire truck, 2 patrol vehicles, a garbage truck, a leaf vacuum, and a snow plow. So this increases heavily due to capital. The general government budget totals $5,261,402, which is an increase of $872,547, or 19.88% from the 24-25 general government budget. So the proposed budget maintains the town's capital replacement schedule. Post-employment benefits contributions are funded at the recommended level. And the proposed budget includes a 3% cost of living adjustment for all employees and a merit increase of up to 2% for full-time employees based on performance. We've got a section here on the reevaluation on the second page. Since 2021, Sylva's tax base has grown 0.18% compared to the prior revaluation of 1.56%, but the tax base decreased almost 3% in 2024. So during this revaluation, the town must maintain the current tax rate due to such a limited amount of growth. Minimal new construction, and because we do not anticipate full commercial development along 107 until after the road construction is completed. So tax valuations within city limits are expected to increase 28.03%, but the average Jackson County valuations increased 75%. Although the values increased, there's limited or negative annual growth. So in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 151-11, using an 0.18% growth rate to the new revaluation tax rate of a revenue neutral tax rate of 0.402 cents per $100 of valuation is needed to be revenue neutral. The revenue neutral tax rate is a comparison of what the rate would produce revaluation revenues that equal revenues in the current budget. The revenue neutral tax rate does not consider whether the levy was sufficient to satisfy the budget needs for the current fiscal year. So in Sylva's case, a revenue neutral rate would require us to appropriate a significant amount from fund balance to balance the budget. Going to the next page, major budget issues. I go through the town priorities and what was identified during the initial budget planning work session. So Petite Park will be redone this year, but as a separate project and therefore is not included in the upcoming budget. It's in its own project. The board's priorities look differently than in years past, since many of the long desired projects have been completed or are nearing completion with grants or other funding sources. So the budget includes the contribution for separation allowance will be $50,000. OPEB benefits are funded significantly at this time, therefore a contribution is not included in the upcoming budget, but the town is going to have to revisit this annually as conditions change. Additional personnel. Community care worker will transition to a full-time employee in the police department. That was one of the board's top priorities. This position will cost $87,000, including benefits. Jackson County, we've requested they fund an additional 2 firefighters. That would total $180,084, including benefits. So Sylva's total request from Jackson County for fire services in the upcoming budget is $1,204,004. Streetlights, that budget increased by $26,600 because of the 107 project and the lights that we've added on downtown, or upgraded those rather. Public Works Department ordered a garbage truck in February, but it will be delivered in the upcoming fiscal year. So that's a rollover of $259,502. Also include a leaf vacuum at $125,000 and a snow plow at $10,000. Police Department will replace 2 vehicles. The equipped cost is $132,746. Other capital needs are rifles for the vehicles, 5 tasers, 4 ballistic vests, and leasing body cameras instead of purchasing new equipment and software. The fire department ordered a commercial pumper earlier this year, but it will be delivered sometime in 2026. So the proposed budget includes a rollover of, well, this proposed draft currently has a rollover of $495,300, but it will be updated to reflect the change orders from the pre-construction that you all approved in the consent agenda today. So that'll be an update with the next version. Another priority during Hurricane Helene, the retaining wall behind Town Hall and Public Works was damaged by flooding. The proposed budget contributes $385,000 to the Scotts Creek slip stabilization project. So the budget was reduced to meet imperative needs and utilize our revenue in the most fiscally responsible manner. Reductions were made in capital, equipment, and other expenditures wherever possible. Long-term priorities for the town that are delayed until funds are available and or property is available in this case for a skate park, hazard abatement, paving the lot at the pool, expanding housing, trails at Black Rock Creek, landscaping and beautification, signage, and town hall improvements. I want to point out some future concerns. This budget, the 107 project. Many displaced businesses were able to relocate within city limits or Jackson County, but there's less commercial property as a result. So the commercial corridor will eventually redevelop, but it will likely be after construction is completed. Sales tax revenue will be negatively impacted during the construction as a majority of the project covers the primary commercial corridor. The degree of impact on sales tax is unknown. Therefore, it's imperative for the town to budget conservatively for future budget cycles. With Scotts Creek project, the town has requested $1,780,000 in public assistance from FEMA to repair the damage from Hurricane Helene and behind Town Hall and Public Works. It's uncertain how much FEMA will reimburse or when we would receive it. So knowing that it's taken multiple years for local governments to receive federal reimbursements for past disasters, the town needs adequate funding set aside to cover the cost of the project. And then when reimbursements or grants received, those will repay the cash flow loan, the capital reserve fund, and fund balance. Paving is another concern. PAL bill funds total approximately $82,000 in this budget. Current costs need an estimated $50,000 each year above the funding level to maintain town streets. So right now they're in good shape, but under the existing funding, we'll only be able to resurface either every other year or a portion of the street a year. So over time, as the streets deteriorate, they're going to cost more to maintain. Healthcare, there's a lot of uncertainty regarding healthcare costs. Renewal rates are expected to increase, but they're unknown. Costs are increasing nationwide, and we know that that's going to continually be something that impacts upcoming budgets. So we're committed to take the steps we can to keep costs low. Other capital and grant project ordinances, the public restroom, that's Fund 30, $656,892. We'll remove that one when the project is closed out. Rice and Park improvements. This is a SCIF grant project with totaling $3,129,153. Petite Park restroom project is estimated at $200,000. And then right now the Scott Creek slope project is $1,158,428.93. So the proposed general government budget for fiscal year 25-26 is $7,525,677 with the anticipated grants and other proceeds. The proposed budget appropriates $60,000 from Capital Reserve Fund for a portion of the leaf vacuum. And the Capital Reserve Fund has $1,960,501 available. Fund balance. As of June 30th, 2024, Sylva's unassigned fund balance, including subsequent year appropriations, totaled $5,305,808. Currently, Sylva's estimated unassigned fund balance, excluding ARPA funds, is 72.95%. The proposed budget appropriates $259,502 for the fund balance rollover for the garbage truck. With the adoption of the proposed budget, the estimated available fund balance will be 54.41%. This budget adheres to the town of Sylva's financial policy to not fall below 40%, but it doesn't meet our target fund balance goal to maintain an unassigned fund balance of 73% of the general operating budget. So this staff has presented you with a balanced budget that maintains our existing high-quality service level that's necessary to meet the board's vision and the town of Sylva's mission. Preparation of this budget report would not have been possible without the dedicated effort of the town of Sylva employees and supportive members of the town board. Thank you.
There's one thing I forgot to address before, but it's sort of appropriate with the budget as well. Blitz had contacted me after a meeting with the Downtown Association, and they had a request for us to try to get the mass arms for the red lights on Main Street painted black to match our street lights like we all agreed on before greening up the mountains. I wanted Blitz to know the two reasons why that was basically too short a notice. The contractor does not have time, but to be prudent with our budget, it's budgeted for it to be done in this year's budget, so we really should wait till after July to do it.
We have it in both budgets. Initially, we thought lights would happen several months before they were installed. So that delayed the mast arms, but you've also got to coordinate with the DOT and then the business owners and block off the parking spaces. So it is still on our radar.
Yeah, and that work's supposed to be done at night as well. So, anyway, I want to follow up with you on that. Yeah, if we're interested.
All right, so this is your summary sheet of the revenues. It's the same as last time with step 4, we adjusted on the amended original, the repair for the sidewalk from contingency. So I want to point out that you've got your main increase for your revaluation there with taxes. Most of this is based on budget versus actual. This change in business registration of 4,000, we'll discuss that more when we look at the fee schedule, but that should be redistributed into zoning in future years. We still anticipate interest rates to increase. This 37,000 for fixed assets is for selling anticipated revenue from selling capital items. These down here, your sales tax articles, those increases are based off of what's been received in the current year, past history, economic concerns, and trying to account for the 107 project. And Cal bill has an increase of $7,000. We've received a little bit more than we did in the past. This Jackson County Economic Development for $100,000. That's what the county's committed to for 5 years to help offset the loss from 7. And it just needs, the only stipulation is that it's spent on economic development. And so next page, fund balance rollover for the garbage truck. So you've got your general government right here under this black line, and then your total general fund down here. So those are the main numbers that are discussed in the budget message. Fire department truck is right here, and we'll adjust that based off what was heard today. Then the transfer from capital reserves, you'll see there for the leaf vacuum. So any questions on revenues? And then as you go through this, you have your detailed line items here. Expenditure wise, this looks exactly like it did last time with the exception of what was spent for the sidewalk repair. We went over these increases, but mainly you're looking in this yellow column. General government is under this black line, and at the bottom, sorry, Chris, I keep hitting you. So you've got your total budget cost, and then the increase. Yes. Right.
We just kind of go over with me a little bit, on the community care social worker position, full-time position. When does the grant end? Is it a fiscal grant? Is it end June 30th?
We pay more each year. So we're paying more in the upcoming budget for it. And then
So the 87,000 is like a fiscal year salary.
that is the salary including benefits. And so we'll pay a portion of that in the upcoming budget with her becoming with what we pay to Western. Then she'll become a full-time town employee in June. And this is the cost of that.
So it entirely is gonna come out of fund balance, essentially.
Well, no, it's gonna come out of what is budgeted in the police department.
Okay.
Except for we're transitioning what we pay for like our alcohol education and rehab. That will cover a portion of it also. And
So starting in June of a couple months from now.
no, starting in July, we pay Western more for the position. Starting in June of 2026, she becomes a full-time town employee.
There's like a match or like a tier or something each year.
So sort of a graduated thing, if I remember right, is that correct?
Yes.
They-
So the only fund balance appropriation, Mary, is what is coming for the rollover for the garbage truck from general fund balance. From fire department is their pump for rollover, but nothing besides equipment. You wouldn't want to take that from fund balance because it wouldn't be sustainable. So this will look a little bit different next time because we'll adjust the fire truck like we talked about. And then also we will reduce contingency by $2,075 to put it into street department and reducing sanitation by $1,000, putting that into the street department to increase uniforms. But other than that, those are the changes we will have in the version that's presented May the 8th, unless the board identifies something else today.
And then you mentioned hope, we hope that the firefighter positions are filled. If they choose not to fund them the county, then they just don't get filled.
Correct.
They've done that highway safety grant, is that, it looks like they reduced their grant by 27,000, is that, and they typically base their grants on data, I suppose. That much better, or
There's not a governor's crime commission grant in the upcoming budget. And there's $4,000 reduction in miscellaneous grants. That's just receiving less grant revenue.
Is the Jackson County Tourism Authority grant available annually? And are we trying to apply for it this year?
We don't have anything in the current budget to apply for it. But I know that Bernadette has applied for several things, like the facade grants mid-year that then were approved, then were appropriated in these columns here. But their funding cycle depends on the amount of money they have for grants, but we're always trying to look into that as an option too. it was not an option for Coteau Park.
So question, I know things are tight right now, of course, it's always been tight in this town. We've never always been very prudent with our money, and it's always been used appropriately. Is there any way, as the 107 project starts to redevelop and we start to see revenues level off is a way to the town be better than things? Could we aim at starting annually putting money back into hazard abatement?
If that is what board wants. You'll see as the looking at your revenues, most of the revenues come from taxes and from the state. So that's really a policy question of how the board wants to proceed with that.
I know that we've talked about a few issues where we've got some things that are worth considering applying the ordinance to condemn and take down and take a lien against property. And as long as C and D bills are what they are, and in this case, it would have been $20,000-$30,000 venture to do that, to tie the money up for a year, so it was reimbursed by them paying for it and paying their taxes. We got $1,200 in hazard abatement, which allows us to have lots of ordinances we don't have the money to enforce. Police department deals with that on a daily basis.
Right, that you just asked about, that one thing, it's, the reason why it's not there is all changes on their end, not on it. It's not performance based or anything like that. It's just changes they've made about where the money's gonna go, what kind of items. It's not that we didn't feel it or we didn't do. They just made changes. And so now we don't fit in criteria.
Were you were specifically asking about highway safety?
Correct.
Okay, I can address that. So that, it runs on a federal cycle. And so we're we estimate getting 35 each year. I had to amend it in the original budget because of the way it sometimes falls with outside of our physical year. And I want to make sure we have enough budget. So we had more stuff in the current year that was going to be paid out than I had been told. So that's just to cover budgeting. But we, for the last couple of years, we got like 35,000. So it didn't really go down. It's just the way I had to account for it in case we got it in a different year.
I'm glad you said that because I was thinking of a different grant. So thanks for clearing that up. Yeah, but that one's not performance based either. It's not like you do good, so we're going to give you this much money again, or you didn't do well. That was.
What's the deal with the state? Zero.
What's your line item?
With the bottom, total expenditures. State grants.
Oh, yes, we don't anticipate expenditures from state grants. I mean, when we get grants, you all amend a grant ordinance and then it's put into these line items to be spent.
Does that mean we have not applied for any state grants recently?
It means we don't know we're getting any in this upcoming budget.
That goes back to what I was first saying to you, of like, there are times where we can almost just count on getting a state grant every year, but they've changed so many things where it's like, it doesn't fit us anymore. And so now we can't say that
Right, well, the police department grants, it falls under most of the federal. And then like the state funding that we received a couple of years ago was the SKIP grants that was, I think we got like the 3 million. Then for the restrooms. So we've just not had state grants. That's been coming in, but then we get, here in the last couple of years, it's mainly been federal and just miscellaneous grants that come from Walmart, and
You
Blue
guys,
Cross Blue Shield, and North Carolina, and some different.
and what I've learned is we've had times where we knew we were gonna get a grant, it was almost like a rubber stamp kind of thing, but we didn't have anything saying we were getting, so they can't put that on here unless they know it's coming.
Yeah, that doesn't mean we're not gonna apply for any state grants, and doesn't mean we're not gonna receive.
We just don't have any.
It just means we don't have any that we already know we're gonna get, so we don't budget for, which is just a
Smart.
conservative approach. Yeah, we don't have the money, but we're not gonna say we do.
Anything else? And if, as you all look through this, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions. We're always happy to answer them. Okay, so if there's nothing else there, let's look at the fee schedule. So you have in front of you the fee schedule that's proposed for 25-26. It's always a good idea during the budget to take a look at the fee schedule, to get an idea of where some of your revenues are coming in from. The changes that we've made have been on the first page, new business permitting. In the past, we've done an occupancy use and a business registration. This would replace that and just be a flat $200 when there's a new business. Instead of the occupancy and business registration that's mailed annual. The occupancy is one time. The business registration has been annually, and we need to clear off the books and find a better mechanism for taking care of this one-time fee. So that's what's proposed there. Then the only other changes are updating hourly rates in public works, police, and fire department. I'll say most of these fees are paid to the county through our interlocal agreement, and then they offset what we pay the county for building inspections and zoning. So the hourly rates are based off of what we are paying those departments. So we do a fees, or we do a pay and classification study. We try to do it every 5 years. We don't want to go longer than 7. But to look at the market around us, where people would. So yes, those are compared. When we do compare parks We will try to look at that every couple of years to see if our reservation fees are around the same. Some of these, like recycle bins, that's about what it cost us to get them. So we're not comparing that to other places because the services are different. We really went through this fee schedule about 4 years ago and made a lot of updates on the building side of it. And then ones that are like conditional use permits, zoning, special use, ordinance amendments. Most of those are based off of what our legal fees are when we get an application like that, or what it costs us to have the zoning map amended and redone, I guess is a better word. Did that answer it? Okay. Okay, so you'll have minor changes when it's presented the first meeting in May, and then final adoption will be after our public hearing, the last meeting in May, and then adopted in June.
Are we having the audit meeting, the first meeting in May?
We had it in December,
We were good for,
till December,
it's just this one.
yes.
Yeah.
So we're good for that. So we don't need a motion to vote to approve anything. Anybody else have anything else to add? Brad Walker?
I need a motion that we adjourn.
Yeah.
I'll do that then. I'll motion.
We have a motion to adjourn. We have any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. All opposed, by like sign, we stand adjourned.
That was fine. Got it. Right.